disappear and fade away. Alone between the sheets only brings exasperation.
All right, good morning and welcome everybody. As we approach the open here, we have had expiration in the VIX. Usually occurs around 8:30 in the morning on the day of expiration, that being today. And we really haven't seen the shenanigans that surrounded so many VIX expirations in the past, like back in 2018, 2019. We haven't seen like the crazy, like weird, unexplainable moves. If you look behind me to the chart right now, you can see the futures down here around 28.25. However, when we open up to our indicators here, the VIX right around 28.85 as well, 28.90. So as required, the future just went right to where the VIX was. However, when you look at this chart, you can see there was a big head fake yesterday on the close here, with the market selling off into the close and then basically coming right back as the futures gap back down to kind of right where they were around 230 yesterday. So in the past, we might have seen like shenanigans, like right on expiration of like strange moves in the VIX. But although this kind of looks like that, if you examine the actual time sequence here, what we had was a market sell-off into the close yesterday. So this is not like suspicious, like manipulative activity, in my opinion. It's just the market selling into the close. However, let's discuss for a second kind of where we stand here. We have seen a mixed amount of paper. There was a bunch of bearish paper yesterday, even ahead of this kind of little mini vol pop. There were put buyers in the VIX. Indeed, VVIX remains elevated. We generally when we talk about VVIX, we're looking for the trend more than the actual number. However, that all being said, VVIX has stayed above 100 for a long time, and actually well above 100 for a long time now. This is a range that we weren't seeing in years past. And as I said before, you really have to kind of dig into the paper to understand the significance of the VVIX being elevated. In this case, we are seeing a lot of downside put buying and some other call selling. So there are some people betting that this stuff is going to move lower. However, the term structure itself has remained flat to mixed. Indeed, many people on the last couple days before expiration look to the relationship between the next two futures. And if we go to the term structure right now, we can see that we are slightly backward here. And the second 2-month futures now coming on as July comes online today. These futures actually did close in backwardation yesterday. So for those of you keeping track, I would say we officially closed yesterday in contango, but kind of moot because the contracts were only, VIX ETPs only contained that June future. So it's kind of like a moot day for talking about backwardation contango when everything is just composed of that one future. However, today, as that July futures comes online, we can see a very flat curve here. Notable that rise up in October representing the U.S. elections, and then lower after that. But in general, pretty flat here in the term structure. Now, this is kind of what this wide button was put in for. Remember when they added this wide button last year? Kind of better to look at it that way, that we are just very flat here and really no indication at all of sort of a bias, at least in the VIX futures. Everything kind of very flat here. Now, if you looked in the past, the overall level of stuff is a little bit higher than it has been in the past. You know, a year or two ago, a 28 VIX would definitely be in backwardation, as the back months would not be this high. But, you know, we're in kind of a new world these days with a higher level. Let's remember that the VIX is a relatively new product, and we still have some to learn about it, of course. All right, so if we look at our major indicators this morning, as we approach the open, we have E-minis up 34, the NASDAQ up 100, and the Dow up 300. The Dow was the index down the most yesterday in a percentage terms, and now it's kind of popped back. We see the Nikkei rallied overnight, and beyond that, not a whole lot of activity going on. If we do take a look at the VIX here and widen out a little bit, we can see that we haven't really broken through to the downside yet. Now, the paper indicating that some traders believe that that definitely is on the way, and certainly if we look at the trend here, it continues to be a downward trend, but remains to be seen what happens from here. You know, I'm increasingly concerned that, and here when we look at the E-minis, of course, we have to see if we are going to actually break through here to the upside or not, as we have a continued flow of bad economic data. It's the higher we get, it seems to me that there's less upside for the market, the higher we seem to move here right now. But we'll have to see what happens. I certainly cannot predict the future. So there you have it. As we have our expiration in the VIX, things very flat in the term structure, and really no real bias for things. The term structure doesn't favor one way or the other. We haven't been able to maintain a continued contango, and with a VIX hovering around 30, it seems that is unlikely to occur. If we can break that 25, 26 level, then we could get in a contango situation. But for now, things are very flat on the VIX. The Options Insider Radio is celebrating their 400th episode of Volatility Views this Friday, which is an exciting milestone for them. Thanks for checking in with the Short Vol Show live, and best of luck trading your positions today. I'll see you soon.